Hello and welcome back for another Torah Tuesday. We're still in Exodus 6 and we're getting closer to the genealogy, which is, I think, one of the most interesting parts in this chapter. The genealogy is framed on either side by a really interesting conversation between Moses and Yahweh. And so today we're going to look at both ends of that conversation. So we'll start in verses 12 and 13, and then we'll also talk about verses 26 through 30, because they echo each other and provide a sort of framing effect for the genealogy. So verse 12 reads in my own translation from the Hebrew, "But Moses spoke to the face of Yahweh, saying, 'Look, the Israelites are not listening to me, so how will Pharaoh listen to me? For I have uncircumcised lips.' Yahweh spoke to Moses and Aaron and appointed them to the Israelites and Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to bring the Israelites out of the land of Egypt." Now skipping ahead to verses 26 through 30, you're going to hear the same things over again. "It was Aaron and Moses to whom Yahweh said, 'Bring out the Israelites from the land of Egypt by their battalions.' They were the ones who ordered Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to send away the Israelites from Egypt. It was that Moses and Aaron. So it was when Yahweh spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, 'I am Yahweh. Speak to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, everything I say to you.' But Moses said to the face of Yahweh, 'Look, I am uncircumcised of lips, and Pharaoh will not listen to me.'" So we have this beautiful speech of Yahweh with 7 I will statements, which Moses brings to the people. They don't listen because of their shortness of breath and hard servitude. And God says, "Okay, go to Pharaoh and tell him." And Moses is like, if Israel's not listening, how is Pharaoh going to listen? And then he brings up this personal defect that he has. He calls himself uncircumcised of lips. What is that supposed to mean? It's really bizarre. He uses a very vivid metaphor to talk about his sense of being inadequate for this task. Now, we talked back in chapter 4 about how Moses actually has a speech impediment. It's not just that he's afraid of speaking in public, or that he's not good at it, but that he has some kind of speech impediment that qualifies as like a medical disability. And he thinks that should let him off the hook. But God says, "No, I'm sending you anyway. I made your mouth, and I will be with your mouth." Here he revisits that, but he uses this vivid metaphor of circumcision. So it's the Hebrew word arel, and arel means having a foreskin or being uncircumcised. It was sometimes used as a derogatory term to refer to non-Israelites. And so here, Moses' reference to himself as having uncircumcised lips might indicate that Pharaoh would find him somewhat disgusting, or that he finds him childish, since Egyptians practiced circumcision at puberty. Or it might suggest that his speech is clumsy. It's like there's extra skin getting in the way. He's heavy-mouthed and heavy-tongued. Back in chapter 4, that's how he describes himself. So keep in mind that back in chapter 4, verses 24 to 26, Moses nearly dies at Yahweh's hand because his son is uncircumcised. So apparently, Moses feels ritually or otherwise unqualified for this dangerous mission. I think it's interesting to note this is not the only place where the Bible uses circumcision figuratively. Obviously, there's no real flap of skin that needs to be removed from Moses' mouth. He's using it as a figure of speech. But in Leviticus 26:41, God calls the Israelites' hearts uncircumcised. It's like they've got extra skin that needs to be removed. Their ears are called uncircumcised in Jeremiah 6:10 and 9:25. And then in Ezekiel 44, verses 7 through 9, foreigners are called uncircumcised of heart and flesh. So that would be like the physical and unphysical forms of circumcision. So Moses chooses this metaphor to describe his sense of being unqualified for the task. And he says it twice on either side of this genealogy that we're about to discover beginning next week. So whether this or that is a summary report, of what has already happened, or whether the conversation between God and Moses happens twice. And here he's responding to fresh opposition. It's not entirely sure. The narrator is definitely wanting us to see a framing effect around the genealogy. And in fact, the genealogy is the answer to Moses' problem. How is that? Well, Moses says he is unqualified to speak. Remember, he has a speech impediment. And the genealogy focuses on Aaron, God's provision of Aaron. So it has extra focus on the family line of Aaron. And so it's like right here where Moses is saying, I don't know what to do about this. God is reminding him, and the narrator is reminding us, God already answered this problem. He provided Moses with a companion who can speak well. And so God's equipped him. He's provided everything that Moses needs to succeed. Okay, so we're now set up and ready to read the genealogy. Come back next week and we'll dive right in. Have a great week.